I'm the director of Hope the Vote, and I just want to welcome everyone here tonight. Thank y'all so much for coming. You're in for a special treat. On one side for our debate tonight, we've got the University Democrats. On the other, we've got the Libertarian Longhorns. And the Daily Texan has very kindly agreed to moderate us here tonight, so give him a round of applause. Keep in mind that no matter what differences y'all might hear between the two groups, or however the ideologies might seem at odds sometimes, these two groups worked very hard to register voters during this semester. They worked together very well on Hope the Vote, and for that we should give them both a round of applause. And with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to our host for this evening, and y'all can go ahead and take it away at any time. Yeah, these are the two presidents of the Orgs here tonight: Leslie Tisdale from UDEMS, Jose Nino from LL, and they're going to say a few quick words before we pass things on. So,
yeah, guys, thanks for coming out. I just wanted to let the Democrats know if you could stay after for about 5 or 10 minutes. We're going to do our weekly announcements. This is in lieu of our normal meeting, so just make sure you stay so we can do our announcements and go through that whole thing. And thank you so much for coming. This is going to be a great debate. We look forward to talking with our great friends, the Libertarians here. So,
I'd like to thank Hope the Vote and the Daily Texan and the UDEMS for letting us debate. The one announcement I'm going to make is that tomorrow at UTC 1.144, the Libertarian Longhorns will be teaming up with the Peaceful Streets Project to promote a Know Your Rights training session. So if you're interested in police accountability and preventing police abuse in the community, I would highly recommend attending this event. Our normal meetings, though, are every Thursdays at 7 in Garrison 2.128.
and thank y'all. And I do want to invite everyone real quick. Afterward, we're going to have a little after party at Players, which is down on MLK. Everybody here tonight's invited. Grab a burger, grab a shake. If you've had a crazy week, grab a beer. So hope to see everybody there. And Daily Texan, y'all can take it away.
Thank you everyone for coming out. My name is Susanna Jacob, and I am editor of Daily Texan. Kayla Oliver is an associate editor, and together with our colleagues, we are chiefly responsible for overseeing the opinion page. So we are familiar not only with the issues that are going to be discussed here, but with the students on this campus who are interested in discussing them. So one quick word before we start debating. This is going to be primarily an issues debate. We predict that the names of certain presidential candidates and also candidates in local elections will come up, just because that's the reason we're debating, this year, not necessarily other years. Can everyone hear me? Is that okay? Good. But the two things I did want to mention was that the reason that it's going to be an issues debate more so than defending one candidate versus the other is because, well, obviously, we have the two different sides of the debaters, and all of you, the fact that you're out here, the fact that these people are interested in debating suggests that you have more in common with each other, whether you believe it or not, than you don't have in common, which is you are invested in the issues which Americans deem important enough to tune in the millions to national debates in the hope that they'll find candidates who are really presenting a vision and a plan and an idea of what can be done for the future. And the fact that you're all around 20-something, not all of you, but many of you, suggests that your attitudes, your beliefs, your inclinations now will have a great bearing on the outcome of that future. So there is something to be said for the fact that we're going to, tonight, discuss the issues as people who have a consistent, almost, investment in the future. So, okay, with that, to explain a little bit how it's going to work, everyone's going to have 2 minutes, an opening statement each, and then there's going to be a series of questions in which each side has each 2 minutes to respond, and then there will be a 7-minute natural debate period where we'll facilitate questions, but you'll also get to respond to each other, and we'll go through that until we reach the end of our questions or the end of our time here tonight. So, does that sound good? And there will be closing statements. So everyone's clear, right? And you guys should introduce yourselves. Okay. Right, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. My name is Taral Patel.
Hi, I'm Carlos Martinez.
And my name is Pedro Villalobos.
I'm Jordan Schmitto.
I'm Pierre Richard.
I'm Caitlin Bates.
Okay. So shall we start? And why don't we let the Libertarian Longhorns start? Oh yes, opening statement.
All right, well, thank you all for coming tonight. I'd like to again thank Hook the Vote and the UDEMs for inviting us here tonight. It's nice that they're recognizing the growing importance of the libertarian movement at this level. Caitlin, Pierre, and myself are here tonight to present our libertarian ideology as a fresh, new, and alternative solution to America's unique problems. We're proud to have the former governor of New Mexico, Gary Johnson, as our libertarian candidate for the 2012 election. Gary Johnson has three main planks to his ideology, and that is fiscal conservatism, social liberalism, and a non-interventionist foreign policy. For example, Gary Johnson, in his first year in office, has pledged to present a balanced budget, which actually hasn't happened in the last 3 years. We believe in fiscal responsibility, moving away from corporatism and shifting more freedom back to individuals rather than leaving all the heads of corporations and their cronies at the big government levels. We believe that good government comes from the ground up, from the local levels on up to state level, on up to the federal government, and not the other way around. And at the same time, we do respect progressive choices that the individual states have made in recent years in regards to social policies, such as gay marriage and drug policy. For too long, we feel like this country has been dominated by a rigid two-party system that does not have the interests of the nation or its people at heart, and that's what we're hoping to challenge tonight. Gary Johnson, in our opinion, has a proven and consistent record at fostering good, clean government through increased freedom and choice, and we hope by the end of tonight everyone will recognize that.
All right, well, first of all, we would really like to thank Hook the Vote and the Daily Texan for agreeing to host this great event. Special thanks to the Longhorn Libertarians for agreeing to sit down and have this conversation with us. But most importantly, thank you to everybody who came out tonight to listen to these important issues. Now, we are here to defend the Obama administration and to plead for a second term. President Obama has made great strides in this country on the economic front. The month before he was inaugurated, we were losing up to 800,000 jobs a month. 4 years later, we've added 5.2 million jobs, and we've had 31 months of consecutive job growth. On social issues front, President Obama has made great strides to make sure that all Americans have equal rights, including members of the LGBTQ community, through the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and through instructing his Attorney General to stop defending the Defense of Marriage Act. President Obama also believes in equal pay for women. He is a champion of women's rights. And so, time and time again, President Obama has proven that he's an effective leader, that he knows what he's doing, that he can lead this country back to prosperity, and that he is a realistic candidate for the presidency of the United States.
Okay, so the first question will go to the UDEMs and then to the Longhorn Libertarians. What does your party at all levels, so not just the presidential level, offer the public discourse right now that other parties don't?
Well, the Democratic Party has traditionally valued and has been the champion of equality on all fronts. Income equality, marriage equality, equality of opportunity is in like young people getting an affordable education, equality of people achieving affordable health care. So on all fronts, our party has promoted equality in every way that that society can benefit from. Our party has demonstrated values of economic pragmatism that have led us out of the Great Recession. It's been the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Our party has produced effective legislation to make sure that education is a top priority because it is one of the building blocks of our nation. If I had to say what is one of the most powerful things the Democratic Party throughout history has embodied is solving equality, and equality is a thing that has gone through society, and that's why we are where we are today.
Okay, now not a response, but a response to the question, what does your party at all levels offer the public discourse specifically right now that other parties have?
First of all, Obama has kept us in 6 wars throughout the world. So we offer peace because, as we all know, Romney would also continue these policies, if not initiate more. We protect freedom of choice on all levels, on all issues, which includes the freedom to marry whoever you want. We don't think that the government should be allowed to tell you that you can't marry someone because of their, because of the way that they were born, basically, because of the way that their genitalia look. I don't think that the government, we don't think that the government has any right to tell you who you can adopt, for example. The government controls adoptions, but they won't let gay parents adopt kids. So many kids are being shut around from foster home to foster home because gay parents aren't allowed to adopt children just because they're gay. We promote economic stability, which neither Bush nor Obama have done. Obama has increased the debt by $4 trillion. And the unemployment numbers don't necessarily reflect the amount of people who aren't able to get work, because so many people aren't looking for jobs anymore because they've been unemployed for more than 10 weeks. So they're not counted if they stop looking for 4 weeks. So the U6 numbers, which is the unemployment, the real unemployment numbers, are much higher, and they're at least double the current reporting numbers. So the economy is not getting better, it just looks better. And we think it's deceptive to paint it as improving, whereas the debt's getting deeper and deeper, and it's just shifting it to further generations. So we essentially provide the choice of everything, as opposed to the imposition of wars, laws, taxes by both of the other parties.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to have a 7-minute follow-up question period. And one thing I do want to clarify is that, the question was, what do you think your party has done better than other parties to elevate the level of national discussion, which has left a lot of Americans feeling disenchanted with all of the candidates, and like that they're not sure how they're different, they're not sure how they're same. So what do you think that the Libertarian Party and the Democratic Party have done specifically in the sense that they have influenced national discussion positively?
So in regards to that question, the way you can start discourse, the way you can differentiate between our parties is just basically looking at what they've accomplished. You really can't tell it any other different way. President Obama, again, if you want LGBTQ rights, President Obama has proven time and time and again, and as has the Democratic Party, that there needs to be equality on all fronts. It doesn't matter that you're partners of the same sex. You deserve to have the same federal benefits as a heterosexual couple. So that's just one example. But in regards to how our party differentiates ourselves, look at the platform. Look at what the presidential candidates are doing. Look at what the Senate candidates are doing. You have candidates who are talking about legitimate rape. That's ludicrous. Look at what your candidates are saying. Look at what your candidates are talking about. Look at what they stand for. And then that's how you'll be able to tell the difference between the two parties.
I would say we've elevated the discourse by discussing issues that actually have a substantive effect on the economy. I would specifically point out monetary policy. Both the Democrat and Republican establishments have refused to address the fact that monetary policy is what causes unemployment, and they have not talked about how the Federal Reserve has been inflating the money supply and prolonging the current recession. And also, I think we elevate the discourse in the sense that the Republicans and Democrats use these social issues to distract us from what are far greater injustices, to be honest, which is killing foreigners. On a daily basis, we are murdering innocent people in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, the list goes on, and yet we talk about things like, gay marriage, which I'm all for. I think gay marriage is great, but compared to drone attacks on U.S. citizens that are being concealed by the CIA, to be honest, it's insignificant. And so I think we need to elevate the discourse to talking about real issues of life and death, but also if we're going to talk about the economy and creating jobs, let's talk about monetary policy.
Well, I think I have to disagree with that. I mean, how can you talk about defending somebody across the pond? How can you talk about defending someone on the other side of the world if we're not even protecting our own people here? A woman's right to choose is sometimes a life or death choice. Plain and simple. If we cannot defend our very own people's rights here in America, then we cannot possibly defend the rights of people in Iran. We cannot defend the rights of people in Yemen and Libya. We have to concentrate. Our main focus should be making sure that we are defending our people's rights here. And then we can concentrate, and not that we can concentrate, but we should focus on our issues, our people's rights here first, and then we should, and at the same time, focus on the Libyan people, the Yemen people.
Okay, in terms of continuing the conversation about public discourse, if you had to offer in one sentence what you believe your party and presidential candidate's vision is for the country to these perhaps undecided voters, though I have my doubts, what would that be?
I would say in one sentence, like I said in my opening statement, and to be honest, I believe most people in America agree with the libertarian ideology if they don't completely realize it, but the sentence I would use is fiscal conservatism, social liberalism, and a non-interventionist foreign policy.
The Democratic Party can be really summed up in one quick sentence, and it is basically greater opportunity for all Americans, no matter what situation. The Democratic Party believes that no matter where you come from, through hard work, you can build yourself up.
And one thing is that there's a lot of agreement between the Libertarian and Democratic parties, which is what's making this debate so interesting. What do you have to say about the areas you disagree with and the disagreements about the public speaking that sort of has resulted in the election?
Well, sure. You know, when Obama got elected, I was at least optimistic that we would get some real change towards a non-interventionist foreign policy. Things, you know, not getting into unnecessary conflicts, closing Guantanamo Bay, you know, getting rid of the Patriot Act, and now we have all those things are still going, and plus we have this NDAA, which allows for indefinite detention of American citizens. And just recently, a 16-year-old American citizen was assassinated by our own government on foreign seas, and we absolutely think that's outrageous.
And about disagreements between the two, discussion, public discussions, and so on.
Well, see, we believe that our party is practical. We have had decisions that we've made that have worked. Our economy is rebounding back. And for example, they mentioned Guantanamo. Well, there's no torture happening there anymore. You know, the camp is still open, but there's no torture. And I mean that our solutions have worked, like the economic stimulus that's provided, you know, our economy to burgeon back. That, you know, by strengthening our military, we have a smarter military rather than just, you know, putting funds and, you know, adding money into the military. I think that our party has proved practical results rather than just maybe, like, you know, saying that this might work, but we have yielded actual real results.
And what do you have to say to the accusation that your party, while attractive in its policies, is impractical?
Well, I would like to rebut what was just mentioned, is that the Democrats have been practical, a bit too practical, I would say, in the sense that they have compromised on their own principles. And one thing that really shocks me, I was optimistic when Obama got elected, but when they didn't prosecute Bush administration officials for torturing people in Guantanamo and abroad in CIA secret detention centers in Europe, which have been documented, to me that's pretty shocking, to be honest. And that shows that consistently, whether it's in healthcare reform or in the stimulus bill, they have chosen political practicality over standing up for their own principles of equality. Now, in terms of us being impractical, I would say if liberty and justice are impractical, well, I don't know how to respond to that, because that's what America is about.
Okay, last words.
Well, I would like to say, like, in regards to liberty and justice, we all believe in it, but we just can't live in a world of like rainbows and unicorns, Hershey chocolate bars. So.
Okay, all right, the next question you'll be all happy to hear relates to some of the same subjects we've been dealing with just now. This country has waged 2 unpopular wars that have achieved little the public understands and led to deficits. In power, how would your party repair the damage and stop that from happening again? Okay, so you guys go first, all right? You get the question. You want to? I'll say it one more time. It was a long sentence. This country has waged 2 unpopular wars that have achieved little the public understands and led to deficits. In power, how would your party specifically repair the damage and stop that from happening again?
I mean, I would like to say that we're still in 6 different wars, and I would also include the sanctions on Iran, which are starving innocent people, as a war. Because people are literally dying because they're not able to get the food that they have, that would otherwise be coming in through their ports. But we would just end all of them. We would stop sanctions on countries. We would stop foreign aid, which props up corrupt governments, which kill civilians. We would stop manipulating democracies around the world and allow people to elect their own governments. And we would bring all the troops home. We wouldn't say that the war is ended and leave 10,000 troops in Iraq. We would just end the wars, straightforward.
What do you have to say about the feasibility of that proposal, and also what is your response to the question?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to need to get a subscription to the newspaper they're reading because I do not know about these extra 4 wars, so I'm going to need to read secrets. I'm going to need to read up on them. Now, what we've done, the Democratic Party, we got dragged into this. These 2 wars are unpopular, yes, but we've been fighting every day to get out of them. We are out of Iraq, and we are going to pull out troops by the end of 2014. Now, the 10,000 troops that my friends here mentioned, they're there to train the Afghan military to pick up on their own security, because it is not our job to protect them anymore. But of course, they are going to need a little bit of training to be able to defend themselves. They talk about sanctions. Sanctions are necessary. Unfortunately, we don't live in a world where everybody agrees. We need sanctions to bring people to the table. They refer to the Iranian sanctions. We needed them, and now, as you can see, Iran is thinking about joining the table to talk about their nuclear program. But that would not have been possible without these sanctions.
Okay, what do you have to say to the degree, the practicality of extricating yourselves from the wars? What do you think the consequences would be, and how would your party pragmatically address them? Because that is one of the big questions.
Right. I want to address, they mentioned that we left Iraq. That's kind of a mischaracterizing what happened. We were kicked out of Iraq by the Iraqi government. We didn't have that option to stay there. So to say that Barack Obama decided to leave, it would have gotten ugly if we had stayed longer. Second of all, yes, uglier. Barack Obama sent 30,000 more troops to Afghanistan. And right now Afghanistan produces more opium than the rest of the world combined. So to us, that indicates a failure of policy on that level. And sanctions don't hurt the government, they hurt the people. And not only that, but they make the people more loyal to the government. It gives them an enemy to focus against. So if Ahmadinejad and the mullahs in Iran have so much power, it's because they have been harassed by the West since British Petroleum set up operations there in the early 1900s. So the solution is to tell the rest of the world that we are going to emulate the most peaceful country in the world, and that is Switzerland. Okay? Switzerland has avoided any conflict, and they are one of the wealthiest countries in the world. So I don't think that it's impractical to say that we're going to take care of America first, and we're going to trade peacefully with the rest of the world. We're going to engage in constructive diplomacy, but we're not going to engage in economic sanctions that kill civilians instead of undermining regimes. There are very simple ways of undermining regimes. Okay? Yes?
I would also add, in regards to their skepticism about 6 wars, just because we don't call it a war doesn't mean it isn't a war. Technically, we're not even at war with Iraq or Afghanistan since Congress hasn't declared war on them, as per the Constitution requires.
Could you please list out the 6 countries or 6
It's Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan. We drone them every day, by the way.
Iran we would count because the
We would
sanctions.
count Iran.
Okay, so clearly, one thing that is clearly a focus is the discussion of foreign attacks. And foreign affairs, also, how do you put all of those questions into context, everyone? And then also, how do you, address the comparison of this country to Switzerland? And one argument that would be made against some of the arguments made here is that this is a party that is not practically exercised.
I think you're the moderator, so
Sorry, no,
you can't use arguments against this.
That's what I'm trying to do, is say that these two agree with each other on a lot of things. And I'm trying to raise questions that everyone here has about the platform. So I am completely unbiased. I mean that. I really not giving that impression. But sure. All right. So let's discuss drone attacks.
Okay, well, first of all, I would just like to go back to this idea that we should be Switzerland. Unfortunately, Switzerland does not have 300 million people living in it, and it doesn't face the problems that America faces every day. We have to do what we have to do in order to make sure that Americans are safe every day, and that we can keep living in a moderately peaceful world.
So yeah, in terms of like foreign policy, we have to be absolutely practical. We can't just say, look, we want to put all the troops out immediately. That would have catastrophic consequences for whatever is going on right now. By setting these, complete golden standards that say, look, we're going to take out all the troops out of Iraq right now without training, or Afghanistan without training their troops to be guards or whatever, is like saying we are just going to give their country in shambles, whatever we messed up with it, without training them, without giving them an effective security team to take care of no problem. And furthermore, on Iran, if Iran develops a nuclear weapon, that would be catastrophe for the entire world. And that's a fact that the opposition hasn't addressed, is saying that by sanctions, one of the goals of a dictator is to stay in power. Sanctions cripple their economy so that maybe there could be rebellion, things like that. Is that they want to stay in power. And that's why they have agreed. Sanctions are working. That's why in recent days they have come together to the table to address, let's say, like, we will come to the discussion. We will discuss, in a diplomatic way on how to resolve this problem.
Okay, two final comments. You can absolutely respond, and then I'm going to say both of you two final comments on why your party's foreign policy positions are stronger than the other.
Okay, so quickly on the Iran issue, I would like to point out that I'm the only economics major on the panel. And sanctions always prop up the governments under which people are suffering, because they literally have nowhere else to get their food, so they cannot backlash because they will starve because the government will not give them food. If Chinese troops were here in America saying that they were protecting us, I'm sure that most of us would be really pissed off. I'm sure we'd be scared. Regardless of what they were doing, even if they were just here in uniform with guns, they would still have guns and it would still be scary.
And I think it's offensive to say that these countries cannot take care of themselves and that they need some sort of paternal figure there telling them what to do with their military and police forces.
I also don't really understand the idea of keeping America safe by attacking other countries and other countries' citizens.
And I would like to point out also that the legislation under which the sanctions are written declared that the sanctions won't end until there's a regime change, as opposed to the nuclear program. It's not even mentioned in the legislation. It is just a talking point, which frankly the Democrats sound exactly like the Republicans on, which is kind of more concerning.
And the bottom line is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapons program.
And they've been about to develop one for the past 20 years. 30 years.
Okay, so and then final response on the Democratic Party's foreign policy positions and why they're best.
Well, I take board that these are economics majors because if you're a business major, you know that it takes years to develop a nuclear weapon. Second of all, this idea that we can't get involved in other countries' affairs. Guess what, people? The world is flat. You cannot just say, "Oh, we're going to let them deal with their own issues without us expecting that it can affect us." It's crazy to think that just because we're separated by a man-made border, by us being separated by an ocean border, that their affairs aren't going to affect our affairs. It's just crazy that they would think that that's possible. That we cannot get involved. That other people's affairs won't affect us.
Affect us how specifically?
So,
Okay.